Yeah, g'day YouTubers. Tinker O'Toole again with another video. Today we're going to talk about carbide bits a little bit, but mainly focus on high-speed steel. The lathes of yesterday all used high-speed steel, and these days we all use carbide bits. While it's very practical to do that, especially in CNC lathes, where the operator doesn't have to spend time dressing and changing the rake on high-speed steel. So the carbide bits, just change them and everything's fine. But with high-speed steel, you can really customize the rake, the shape, the radius, especially also the shape for grinding a bit of high-speed steel that's going to be a custom job that's going to fit in a different spot. So over on the table here, we've got quite a lot of bits of high-speed steel. These type of tool holders were used in what they used to call a lantern. So when this HSS lathe came out, it was fitted with a lantern and had these type of tool holders. And we'll just put a picture up of a lantern. And you'll see like a little bit of a radius on the bottom, and you can move that. And what that means is you could get a different rake by that little bit of steel. It's got a radius on the bottom there. So very interesting. And even on this is an old boring bar, a bit of high-speed steel. As you can see, it's a little you can adjust the length there. And again, you can change the shape, the rake, and everything else about it. Here's something that used to be used for cutting threads. This is something, a bit of high-speed steel that has a large radius on it. Right, so there's a large radius on that. Look at the rake on that. And then you look at this bit here. And you've got all different angles on that. And a little radius on the top. There's a little radius on the top. And we've got another piece, 10 millimeters. There's the rake on that, on the top, positive rake. Clearance there. And here you've got, have a look, you've got your angle on here, a little bit of an angle on there. There's your rake, a little bit of a chip breaker. And there's your angle going down like that. Very interesting when you talk about a chip breaker, because what that actually does is sometimes when you look at the swarf that's coming off, when it hits this edge here where my fingernail is, it can break it and make it in a smaller bit. So you can experiment with chip breakers. There's all different ways of doing it. A lot of people say it's not important, but that edge is razor sharp. And again, if you look down on top, there's the radius. We'll just put a picture up there of some high-speed steel that shows a little bit of rake. So while we're talking, we can sort of look at some of the pictures there. So the other thing is, going back many, many years ago, all your parting tools all had, and even till today, you can still get them quite a lot, a bit of high-speed steel that was only about 2 millimeters wide, and the length could have been anywhere from half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. And you usually had a tool holder for that, and that was used to part off. The modern parting off tools these days, I've got one that has a little bit of a carbide bit in it, and you just replace the carbide bits. So certainly with carbide bits, the only biggest downside on the carbide bits is they're very easy to snap. They're so rigid and brittle, so you've got to be really careful with them. If you do something incorrectly with a bit of high-speed steel, you might chip off the corner. No big deal. You just go back to the grinder and grind it again, because a lot of times when you buy high-speed steel, you can buy them in 8-inch lengths and you can cut them to size. And one thing that's interesting about having this information on YouTube, especially with a lot of people that want to get introduced to or thinking of buying a lathe, is a lot of the comments that people leave are users who have lathes, and they're putting their comments in and their advice, which is a great thing. Personally, myself, I'm not a machinist. I'm just a bit of a tinkerer. So, and you know, there's a big learning curve still for me and everybody else that buys a lathe. There's something to learn all the time. But certainly playing around and surface finishes with high-speed steel, you can get a lot of better results using high-speed steel than carbide bits if you know what you're doing. But it all comes down to exactly that. Knowing what you're doing with the different type of metal that you've got, because there's all different types of steel, from mild steel, which is in your rolled, it's just rolled steel. Mild steel's got to be the worst to turn surface finish. And let's face it, if you're making a shaft or you're making something and you want a really precision fit, you need good quality surface, not something that's as rough as guts. An understanding between positive rake, a neutral rake, and a negative rake, and having clearance angles and having radiuses on your high-speed tool steel is something that you can experiment with for the various different types of metal. Anyway, I hope that information helps. It's just a little bit of a brief overview on high-speed steel. It is still popular today. So, right, yeah, I've got more carbide bits than anything, but I certainly like to have high-speed steel in the drawer so that I want to do a custom tool bit. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.